Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unique Peace. Today, we're going to talk with Lance Reno. He is an officiant. He is a reverend. He is a tarot reader. He's a crazy dance dad. And today, we're going to find out what brings Lance peace. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning. How's it going today?
It's going well. How about yourself?
It's not bad. The sun is just coming up. I'm doing okay.
Okay, well, you are in Colorado. How's that great state of Colorado for you?
And my phone's not agreeing with me.
It's okay. We'll work through it. It's live, so.
Hang on. Perfect.
Perfect. So, as you know, the show is about peace, everyday peace, and how people bring peace to their lives. So, we're going to jump right into it. I usually have a meditation, but today I really don't have anything speaking. Let's sit on this. So, let's discover what you feel brings you peace.
I mean, let's face it, we live in a very stressed world. We do. And honestly, anything can give you anxiety or, you know, put you down there. You know, I like to put like my hobbies first. My hobbies, I like to paint things. And painting, man, painting takes time. You
It's
know,
patient.
it does. So you get down, you sit there, you grab yourself maybe some tea, and you just sit there and you paint because I don't have anything with me that I've done though. Oh, I probably should have thought of that.
You're fine.
But the detailing, like, oh, the detailing of painting is amazing. However, I found in Egypt when I was up there that one of the best things in the world to relax somebody is just the ocean.
Nice. Nice.
My God,
Egypt full of it's pretty deserty, so
it is. I was sitting next to the Red Sea though, and those crashing waves right up against the rock, man. You can't get any better than that.
why do you
Loved
feel
it.
that's something that brings you peace? Is
Yeah.
it what do you think it resonates with you? The sound, the vibration, just what part of that intake brings you the most peace?
I think nature in general, I mean, if you've got like 15 minutes to go out on a hike, if you've got like 10 minutes to go out, like just walk somewhere and just like feel the earth. I mean, it's a wonderful planet. It is. And being able to just like feel the earth and all the vibrations of everything in the planet, it is the most wonderful thing you could ever imagine. There's so much out there, so much. You just can't get better,
Yeah, better.
you
And
know?
what's your favorite thing about connecting with planet Earth that you feel centered and you feel like, yeah, I can take on the day, I can take on the rest of the day, I can make it through the afternoon, I can make it into the office.
It is probably, that is a good question, actually. Hmm. I believe the best thing about that is just closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and just taking it in. And you're like, I can do this, you know? Just walk outside, sit down, and think, I'm doing this today. I can, you know? You're still here. you're still going.
Okay. And I know where you live. I grew up in Colorado, so I know how, it can snow in the middle of August and it can be gorgeous 1 minute and then 2 hours later it's, you know, a blizzard. Or I was on my way to school one time. It was raining where I was. You cross the street, it wasn't. So we know the weather in Colorado. So, so my question to you is, given the wackiness of that great state, how would you bring nature into your dwelling to find that same peace?
So this one time, this is awesome. This one time, it was like middle of a blizzard, and my daughter runs outside. We are pushing the door open. We are like intensely snowing, right? And the snow was backed up against the door. I couldn't get out of the doorway. Somehow or another, she did. So I squeezed myself through the doorway, and we're bouncing around outside through the snow. It's like feet of snow, and
Yeah.
I could barely walk in it. But I get my coat on and I go outside, and I fall backwards into the snow, and I just lie there for like half a second, and I'm just like, wow. And you just sit there and you close your eyes in the middle of a blizzard, and yeah, Colorado changes very periodically. You're right. I mean, you blink and it's raining. You
Right.
blink and it's snowing. And at some points, you just got to accept it. You're like, okay, if this is the best I'm going to get, sure. I,
Michael's loving this, so I just want to
you
shout
what?
out. Michael's in. He's grateful. All right, so you're crazy enough to go out in a blizzard and sit and meditate for a few
I'm
minutes.
crazy enough to do probably anything, yes. Um, the, I mean, water's water, and water revolves around life. So if you really want to, like, get purest energy in any form, walk through water, go through, I mean, there's a river in Boulder, like right next to a tea shop. And people have literally put up a hammock and just lied on the inside of this little ravine in this water next to this tea shop and read. And I have seen them do it. And I was like, dude, that is like probably the coolest thing I've ever seen. That is a great idea, you know? And there are so many different ways to do things like this. And oh God, people in Boulder, let me tell you,
Yeah. Yep.
they have the greatest ideas, but some of them are very strange. And I thought I was strange, so that says something.
So let's go back to Egypt for a minute. I know that that was a life-altering event. It is something that you had wanted to do for a while, and you had the opportunity, and you got to travel with your sister, who was near and dear to you. And when you reflect on that experience, what kind of peace did you experience there? And when you go back, when you relive that, what kind of peace do you have now?
Egypt was Egypt was way different than I ever imagined it would have been. Um,
I know it's hard.
from the
She
very
knows it.
beginning of that trip, like I had been so excited about it, and like walking through that door, I knew my life was going to change. I had gone every single place, and I had done something there. The so Cairo, there was a pyramid up in Cairo. Giza pyramids are these giant pyramids. I had no idea. You see them on TV, you see them anywhere, and it is
The TV doesn't do them justice. I
incredible.
mean, I've never been there, so.
You walk up to one of them and you're like, oh, well, that's a lot bigger than I thought it was. Like, you know, but, you know, you go up into this pyramid, you are absolutely out of breath. You are struggling to try to get through these doors. And, like, we got into this one area in Giza pyramid, and I just kind of plopped myself down in the middle of this pyramid. And my sister looked at me and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, just catching my breath for a sec. And she goes, "What?" And I go, "Hang on." And I put my hands down on the top of the pyramid, or on the floor of the pyramid. And I just kind of sat there. And, like, you feel something, and it's
Mm,
just so much different than everything that you feel most of the time. And I can't really explain this. You know, I've been struggling to explain the feeling of Egypt for probably a good 2 years now, because everything about it just, it's a whole separate world, you know. Um I had I had done a lot of meditations, a lot of, like, points of power in different areas there. Giza was one of them. I had the Temple of Isis and Philae was one of
nice.
them. I did the same thing. Like, I went right into the middle of the temple and I just plopped down and put my hands down. And I actually took my cards with me. So every so often I would, like, draw a card and think, okay, what am I doing in Egypt? And it was crazy the way that the cards responded to being there. Like, if even me, the cards responded so heavily to being, like, right in the middle of this, like, plane of energy and all these temples and all these places. And, like, focus. I've got to make sure that I'm focused. Like, so I found a couple places. One of them was in a hotel. I
Hmm.
was right in front of this warrior, and I was in um I can't for the life of me remember the name of this hotel. Um, but there was this warrior inside of this hotel, and I walked out and I sat in front of this warrior, and I just kind of put myself there. And every single time, there was always some different feeling. And Aswan, I mean, it is like the basis of Isis. So
Mm.
you, like, walk through it. You've got Isis temple, you've got Horus temple, you've got stories and history everywhere. And it was probably the most incredible feeling you will ever have. Luxor. Luxor was the most interesting. Again, totally different feeling. So, Cairo, they tend to be a little more upfront in Cairo,
Okay.
where when we went to Aswan, and you can feel the change and the perspective of everybody.
Absolutely.
You go to Aswan, and the people there are very, like, they're a little more serious than they are, like, you know, kind of party people. But Luxor, from the minute I entered Luxor, there was something with it. And, like, the first person to even identify it was this Egyptologist who looked at me and she said, "I can feel you here." This is a very, very spiritual community in Luxor. Um, we went to Karnak, and there's this whole stretch of like water, and the water doesn't ever evaporate. So this is this giant mystery of where this water is coming from because it's like right in the middle of land.
So like an oasis, but just mysteriously there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So it just stays there and nobody knows how. Um, as I'm walking through this, sat myself down in different places in Karnak, started doing a couple things in front of, I had like Sekma, I had Ra, I had I had all sorts of gods all over Karnak, statues everywhere. So I grab my cards, I start trying to find the separate card to like, pull this off. And as I'm doing this, I had this guy who like walked right by me. I think it was like a tour guide or something. And he stopped me and he was like, I can feel that energy of yours. And I was looking at him kind of interestingly. I was like, what? And he goes, I can feel you. You are like here. And I was like, I am here. Yes.
So did
Like,
you feel at home there, like you belong there? Because that's kind of what I'm gathering from more than one person saying, I can feel you here. Yes, you're physically here, but did you feel at home there? Like sometimes you just walk into a place and it's like, I'm home. You don't know why, but I'm home. It's not your physical address per se, but I'm home.
yeah,
This is where I need to be.
I was going over everything. I was reading everything. I was looking at everything. I was taking everything in, and it was intense. Like my brain was exploding through every one of these temples, and like there was something about it, man. I can't describe the feeling. It was crazy.
Now, did you feel so going back to peace, were you at peace there? Like, did you find a sense of, yeah, this is it. I can focus on this and I'm just going to be at ease. I don't there's it's effortless. I can go back anytime I want in my mind and find that sense of peace.
Yeah. So I am definitely afraid of needles, right? Getting shots, bad, especially on me. And just recently, I found myself, because COVID boosters, different types of shots, so on. I find myself always wandering my brain back to where I was. Like every so I am getting this shot, and I'm like, okay, in Luxor, in Luxor, in Luxor, breathe, breathe, going through the temple, and I don't even feel it.
Wonderful.
I don't even know it's there. So like, go back to somewhere you've been, make sure that like you're just like out of mind, you know, and it is calming. Oh my God, is it calming? We got stuck on a boat in the middle of Aswan, and my sister, she was kind of like sitting there, and I was like, all right, so we don't have any wind, huh? And she was like, no, no, we're gonna have to sit here on the Nile and wait for the wind to kick up. And I'm like, why don't I have any problem with this? Hmm. So jump in the middle of the ship, and I just kind of sit there, and you just listen to it and the sounds of Aswan. You know, you've got no planes, so there isn't any plane that's coming across. You've got boats, but without any like real way to get the boats out. Don't have any boats crossing. And to be fair, this was like right after COVID, so nobody was there. just sat, and you could hear everything. You could hear the fish jumping through the water. You could hear like the boat kind of like streaming, and wow, whole different world when you're like paying attention to it.
So, this just makes me, I just feel compelled to ask this question. So, having been to Egypt and experienced all these things firsthand, they're now doing immersive projections and immersive experiences. And I know that they are doing one for the Egyptian exhibit. And I do believe in the Museum of Natural History out here. Is that something you would entertain, having been there very personally, been there really? And then how do you feel you would reflect? Would it something you entertain, or something like, no, I've seen the real thing, I'm not going to do that?
So, to answer this question, I've been to one of the immersive experiences now twice.
Nice.
um, the first time I actually wanted to go because I wanted to see what it was, and the experience was the story of a pharaoh who had gone into the underworld, who died. The two
Okay.
gods took him through a whole path to make sure that he is always going to be immortal.
Mm.
It was there were a couple of things I had a problem with. I know the story, so knowing the story, I had to kind of correct it a little bit. However, you know, um, as I was like, helping people do this the second time, I actually got taken to it because somebody didn't want to go blindsided to it. You know, she brought me along so that I could explain what was happening. And I
Okay.
was like, I have no problem with that. The whole thing was beautifully done, though. The graphics were great, the story was great, and I like the way that they kind of like altered the story to make it so that like, you had that major moment of ferocity in it. So the one down here had Apophis as like there's different ways that Apophis has become a form. And one of them was, of course, this giant snake that is the world leader, which Ra has to take out every night because, if Ra doesn't take out Apophis, he's going to destroy the land. And that's the way that the sun always rises in, the world. And Apophis was kind of chasing them around. And the Apophis that they had that went around the building was really cool. But it was the wrong way to represent Apophis, so I kind of complained about it. Um, I was like, this is not really what Apophis is like, but I like the way that they did this to make it so the story makes sense. So I'm gonna let this go. Like, um, being in Egypt now, knowing like everything that I've been taught, everything that has happened, like exhibits are different. Things like that are different. Like we had this Egyptian thing up in the Natural History Museum just recently, and it turned out that like there was a couple of people inside of it, and I really had to hold my tongue because of what they were saying. So, we're walking through the exhibit, and I start pointing at things, and I'm telling my kid this, and this. And I was like, and actually, that's wrong. It's this. And he's like, oh, I knew you were going to do that. And I'm like, I knew I was going to do it too.
Well, you've
I
been
walked
there.
up to one of the little
It's
guys,
it's a different
and I was like,
experience. So
yeah.
your information and your intake is different.
I
So
walked up to a guy. She was talking about the weighing of the soul, right? And I was listening to what she was saying, And as she was like talking about it and talking about the funerary things they do in Egypt, I kind of poked at Gabe, and I looked at him and I go, this is actually supposed to be like this, not that. And he's like, seriously? I'm like, I know she's just doing her job, but that's wrong. And I walked off.
Have you thought about volunteering when they have these exhibits just so that you have some sanity and when you go?
I've thought about it. I've thought about it. Um,
So we know that you love Egypt and it's part of what brings you some peace. We know you love nature and are crazy enough to go outside in a blizzard and meditate. Um, so what are some of the things that you do to bring others peace? How do you bring peace?
I'm always trying to figure out a new way of doing it. Like, I've like I've closed my eyes, I've taken deep breaths, you know, don't drink coffee. I'm a major caffeine addict. Bad. Disclaimer, don't drink coffee. Um,
Um, yeah.
I am very like on go all the time and trying to find peace in a chaotic life. It is, it's rather hard, you know? So like you just have to like sit and you just have to take a breath. And you have to remember that there are things out there. And those things, they they'll always be there. You know, like the people are always going to be there, the ones that like stress you out, no matter. But you still live in like your truest form, you know? And as long as you are you, then you can still make it through this.
So let's say Gabe's having a hard day or Tina's having a hard day. How would you bring them peace? What would you advise them? How's this?
Just close your eyes, think of something that you love, take a deep breath, and just think about it. Put yourself where you love to be, you know? Um, that person, as a matter of fact, that took me to that, you know, the immersive experience. When I went down there, I was I took my cards with me, right? Because she had requested that I had like, you know, given her a reading, and I was like, you know what, I can do it. You know, you paid for my way into the Egyptian exhibit, I can do it. So I had a I'd been sitting there playing with my cards for probably about 15 minutes prior to it, waiting for her to like, you know, make it there. Um, when she got there, you can tell, like just by the way that body language comes off, by the way that like, you know, somebody is just freaking out, right? You
Mhm.
are stressed out, you are shaking, you are like her phone went off and I could see the movement, you know? So I was like, okay, so let's go in here. After we go in here, we're gonna try something because girl, you are just crazy right now. And we head into the exhibit and you know, we go through the whole, you know, whatever exhibit thing. I walk her into the room next to it with all the gods strung around it. Like there's a place with like it was insane. I walk her in there and I sit her down and I grab her hands and I just start like trying to calm her down because like I could tell that her brain was just going like a million miles an hour. And as I'm sitting there, I'm holding her hands. So the shaking was like on the top of my hand. And as I sat there trying to calm her down, I was like, why isn't this working? You know? And I'm like, I need you to focus on something that you love because, you are gone. I mean, you are way gone. And you need to focus yourself back, you know?
Okay.
So I sat there and I tried to, like, breathe. Just take a minute, just breathe. Think of this, focus on me. There's nothing else here. Just focus on me. And after probably about a good like 15 minutes, I finally got her hand to stop shaking. And, I was like, okay, now come outside so that I can like do this. So we go outside and the phone beeped off again and there it went again.
Oh,
And I was
goodness.
like, good God, girl. Like, I think you need like a vacation or something because if that phone is making you do that, then you need
Oh,
to get
get
away
off
from
the
whatever it
phone.
is that is causing this.
Right.
That is incredibly stressful. Like,
So, but you were able to get her calm enough to focus on whatever it is that was what she needed to bring her peace.
yeah. And I was glad I did that because, like the minute that I realized what was actually like making her do it, then you can eliminate it, you know? And as long problems in life are all about elimination, right? So if you can find anything that is causing, like one way or another, causing you to become way far out, focus on the problem. Because that minute that you realize that problem is there, you eliminate it, it's gone. I mean, somebody is like causing you to like be all stressed out, just eliminate them, you know? I mean, I don't like, don't eliminate them. We're not
No,
gonna like
I know.
go out and be like,
I
it's
hope you wouldn't.
curtains for you. No, no, no,
No, no, no.
no. Hey, baby, I'm a gangsta.
There you go.
But
So,
like, you know, these people, some people are just kind of trying their best to like, keep themselves. Other
mhm,
people are not. Other people are trying to impress people. Other people are trying to, I mean, the world is the world, right? But
right.
some people will always be like the vibrations of people are all different. And if you
When
don't vibe with these people, then
they're not your
you're
people,
probably not supposed to,
right?
you know?
If you vibe with them, they're not your people.
Yeah.
They're not your tribe. So you're a reverend now, and you have one wedding under your belt for sure. Now, my question to you is during that situation, because that's, a high stress situation and it's not necessarily bad nerves or bad energy, but trying to calm people down. Did you find you have to do that for weddings and calm a bride groom situation down? Bring people
That
peace?
was hilarious. First of all, me being a reverend, that was never planned. I just kind of stumbled upon it through what I was doing and it happened. So, you know, knowledge is power.
Mhm.
And so long as you just keep learning and learning and learning, crazy things happen. Well, that happened. Um, so right before it, and this is a very high stress thing, let me tell you. The first time I did that, I was kind of freaking out about it. You know, it wasn't even like it wasn't a bad freak out either. It was holy crap, I can't believe I'm actually doing this. You know, and I've had a couple of those times in my life, so I've gotten pretty used to this. For instance, like, going to Egypt was one of those times my brain started overhauling and I kind of started like, overtaking the Egyptologist, which was so funny. Um, Walking into something like a wedding and officiating it was walking back and forth and like, just kind of shaking off and making sure that everything was okay. Like, it was a lot of breathing, shaking. Okay, okay, I can do this. I can do this. We're good. We're good. Then, the person I did the wedding for was actually, it was my next door neighbor, which is a very close friend of mine. Um, he came into the room and, just everything started like becoming a reality. And I was like, oh God, I'm doing this. Like, all right, I'm actually doing this. Okay. Do I look okay? All right. I'm good. Yeah. All right. And like about 30 minutes later, we get in the car and we head to the beach. So we walk through it. And of course, starting the wedding, everything goes wrong. And, you know, the bride, she was up at the top of the beach, and I was trying to like get the phone to work because we had like one song. I had one request to play a song that was on her phone, but we had no internet. So we couldn't stream the song. So I'm sitting there going,
Yeah.
she looks at me and she's like, and I'm like, right. So, um, Chris, the groom, is standing in front of me and he's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I can't get the thing to stream. And he goes, stream. I'm like, it was the song and Joanne wanted to play it. And, and Chris is like, oh, I'm like, yeah, oh, crap. Can't believe we don't have internet right here. Not have internet. And so I'm like, Gabe.
At
So,
the beach.
try to figure out different ways. Like, we're all like scattering, trying to figure this out. And he's like, oh my God. So eventually, like, everybody just started like doing the whole wedding march down the aisle. And it was the most miraculous thing I've ever heard. Suddenly, we had this whole audience around us. It wasn't just like the people that were invited to the wedding anymore. It was everybody on the beach that was watching this. And I'm looking around, and your heart for like a minute stops when you look at something like that. You're like, okay, I had this group of people, and now I have this audience of people. Oh my God. Right. And close my eyes, took a deep breath, looked back out, thought about it for like half a second, got down, put my hand on the beach, and just listened to the waves behind me. Got back up. And Chris looked at me and he goes, you good? I'm like, I'm okay. So the wedding went. And, you know, weddings are weddings. I mean, it's hard enough like being there. Well, me being, the best friend of the person I was marrying, the groom started getting really emotional. And as the groom started getting emotional, like he started like crying. And I looked at him and I'm like, don't do that. And he's like, what? And I go, don't do that. And he goes, why? And I go, dude, you're going to cry and I'm going to cry and it's going to be a mess. Don't do that.
So how did you get that situation to be like peaceful? I know you touched the sand and everything, but how did you like were you able to bring the whole community peace in doing that? Or did you find if you were calm, they were calm?
I had to keep those two like totally serene. And throughout the entire thing, like, because again, high emotions, you know, very high emotions in a wedding. So I'm glad that those two like decided to like pick me to do this because feeling what I felt up there was a majorly, it is uncharted. I have a lot of things, and I'll say this like emotions, there are some things in this world that I still haven't felt before, you know, and that emotion was intense. Um, it was going up there and having to like do this whole crowd, and then the two people in front of me. And I was like, keeping the two people in front of me calm as I was trying to keep myself calm. So like there was so much emotion running through this and all the time that it was different, man. But it wasn't a bad emotion, it was like it was excitement and it was like this happiness and it was like you could see me like, I had the book in my hand. I had like, the phone with all the things I had written on the phone. And I was like shaking profusely when I was doing it, and I knew I was doing it. I was like, oh God, right? But eventually, like, you start realizing that you're doing something that everybody is watching because this is something that is like this joyous occasion. This is something that is like these two are uniting, and all these people are here to see this,
Right.
I started off loud, like I needed to make sure everybody could hear me. I was yelling. And I guess at some point, I actually started kind of toning myself down. And one of the people, like, yelled at me, I can't hear you. And I was like, sorry. So, like, I toned myself down because I was kind of like leveling my emotion, you know? So I had to keep myself at that one point of excitement to make it so I could still have like that moment of yelling, because I didn't want to like make it so that like my entire persona here was like too quiet or too serene, you know. So the excitement I had, I was usually here, and there I had to be here. So like I had to keep myself like where I was shaking, but I wasn't like shaking horribly. And I had to keep myself at like that one moment. And oh God. So like that was not peaceful to say, but the excitement of that was probably the greatest feeling that you will ever have. I'd like to do it again sometime, honestly, because I mean, that was like my two best friends. So, like, if it's not my two best friends and I'm just doing it out of, just somebody doing it that I know or somebody that's like just random, I mean, it's probably going to be a completely different experience, you
Right.
know, because like doing it with them, it will, it's just high emotion. I'm like,
Okay.
I know I'm going to be doing this, and I'm vivid. Yeah.
So I guess feelings of emotion at some point you equate that with peace. So from going from that emotion to like dance competition emotion where you're the parent and you have your daughter in competition and you got to deal with making yourself peaceful so that you don't stress her out and then find a way to calm her down so she's not stressed out. How does that work? Just taking
That
out the
is
emotion,
impossible.
but trying to bring the situation to be as peaceful as possible without, overboarding or overloading. How do you can you explain trying to bring that into a peaceful situation? Because I know as my son is in many sports now. I'm suddenly a football mom. I'm now back with my wrestling hat on. I know what to expect there, so I'm a lot more peaceful there. And then he goes to lacrosse, and after a couple of years of lacrosse, now I know what to expect. So finding that peace and trying to like be that calm center for my player and for him to kind of bring that calm center into the team. Like he's actually very in tune and very good. It's like I try and be as peaceful as possible while I'm watching him clobber somebody else or get clobbered. That's just the nature of his sports. And I have found a way with wrestling and lacrosse. And now that we have a season of football under our belts, I know next year I'll be able to. It's like, okay, this worked last year. This is where we're just gonna be like this. uh,
Oh my God.
so
Crystal,
explain.
Crystal. So real quick, um, she had gone out and gone on stage and went through her whole dance, missed a foot, spun around, slid down, and cracked her head against the floor.
Ouch.
Yeah.
How do you stay calm in
Speaking
that?
of ways that you go,
Yeah.
and we were like, I look at my wife, and I'm like, oh God, that's gonna hurt later. And she goes, no, I think she's okay. And I was like, no, she's not. She got up, she did the rest of the dance. My God, muscle memory is amazing. And she comes out and she goes, oh my God, my head hurts. And I was like, are you okay? And she goes, did I finish it? I don't remember if I finished it. I was like, crap. So, yeah,
So, but what have you ever tried to bring peace to that situation or tried to get her to be calm in that situation?
it is impossible. Impossible.
Okay.
Um,
Maybe that should be your challenge. Maybe that should be the challenge that put forth to you and Crystal and maybe even Tina and say, okay, we're gonna be peaceful. We're going into this peaceful and work through that, but you'll never know.
so Crystal, so I figured out like the one thing to get her down into like the level, like is humor, you know? So when I'm going out there with her, if like, we're going up on stage and we're doing something or, whatever she's doing, we start making fun of anything at all. We start doing little memes from TikTok. We start doing anything. She will immediately level herself back down. So when I'm there, I make it a point to try to get like at least one or two little of those memes so the crystal knows that this is not serious because, if you take things too seriously, it's just going to like freak you out, right? And so, like, she goes on TikTok all the time. Like, every single teenager in the world right now is like obsessed with this TikTok thing. And don't even get me started.
I
And
we'll leave
so,
it
like,
at
every
that.
so often, I'll just start spurting out things that Crystal like says all the time. And it gets her down. Like, she gets like a little less, nervous about things. She gets a little more focused on what she's doing. And so long as I can keep her at a level to make it so that she doesn't feel like she's about to like blow her brains, like she'll be okay, you know?
So would you say it's safe to say that you equate peace with a state of calmness?
Yeah,
That's that's where that's how you bring peace, is you bring people calm.
yeah.
You find a nice state of calmness. So that's what really brings you. That's how you would define how you bring peace and what peace is to you. Is that state of calmness and how you get there. You have many, many means at this
You
moment.
get to that state of calmness, you can stay there, you know? I mean, to a point. There's always going to be something, right? You get to that state of calmness though, and you can just get back. It'll always be there. You can always get back to it. She is probably one of the best examples of that I have. And, I mean, competition dancer, she went all the way to California to do this. And in California, oh my God, California was a nightmare. And,
Oh,
but
do
still, like, eventually, like, her dancing is her piece. She goes out there, she starts doing whatever she's doing. She's doing her solo. It's her piece. It's what she's got. She knows she's this talented, you know? But the minute that like you get her on stage, like she'll start going, and the minute she starts going, man,
Done.
yeah, it's not like recitals. Recitals are just something I've always done. No, no, it is
Oh,
competitions.
it's a different level with competition dance. I do have a couple of additional friends who have competitive dancers, and it's a different ball of wax. It's like competitive cheer.
Girl, I can't even imagine though. I can't even imagine watching my kid get pummeled.
He's a boy. I'm gonna chalk it up to he's a boy and he begged, and it's very funny how I finally they broke me down, they wore me out between the high school wrestling coach and his friends that are in wrestling, because the way it has unfolded in our school is three-quarters of the football team become the wrestling team, and he's really wants to play football. I'm like, we don't even watch football. I mean, the last time I watched football, the Bears won the Super Bowl, so it's been a while. Uh, you know, and it's like, I mean,
So do you
I've
scream a
watched
lot?
it here and there,
Are you like,
but
that was wrong? He made that.
but they wore me down, and it was actually one of his wrestling teammates. Do you remember the movie Wildcats with Goldie Hawn?
Think so.
Okay, there's a scene in that movie, and the kid is it. I just envision his wrestling teammate saying this, and I was like, "Okay, you win," and I don't know why. It goes back to humor, and all the kid said was he looked at Jeffrey. He goes, "You wear a helmet, though." I can't argue with that because in wrestling they give him these earmuffs and a mouth guard and send him out into the wild, you know. So I was like, at least with football you have a helmet and pads and a mouth guard. So, but yeah, he chose these sports. He's doing well at them, so that's his
Well,
choice.
wrestling though, wrestling is intense too. I mean, like,
It's very intense.
Tina's
It's very
brother used to do wrestling, and watching it, like, I mean, hitting the ear and like smacking him and like,
it's a
like
different ball of
all
wax.
the different
I can
ways that you can
say
get hurt in wrestling, man.
there are, and it happened to one of our kids last year, and it's like it was intense. And this is his fourth year as a wrestler. It's my fourth year as a wrestling mom, and now it's kind of like, okay, I know what to expect. I'm more prepared. I'm like, listen to the coach. I'm just like sitting here, like, oh, and then I'll ask him later, was that even legal? So I've learned to calm myself down in those situations, and it just for me, it's like, okay, I'm calmer in the situation now because I know what to expect. It's like trying to bring my son into a situation where he is not does not know what to expect. It's really hard to calm him down. And my son is of I don't like change right now because he's a teenager. They don't like change unless it's instigated by them. So let's
But I
be
mean, we're
honest.
just getting into this, so that means that there's a lot more that might happen later on.
Oh yeah, this will be fun.
Yeah.
On the same roller coaster, different cart.
You're like, don't make me think about that, Lance. Come on.
Well, no, it's the truth. It's the truth. So, we do know you do tarot. Do you have a deck with you? You want to do your card of the day live, or
I've got a deck.
you've got a deck? You're probably like my other friend who has like 10.
Strange deck, but I've got a deck.
What deck are we playing with today?
Say what?
What deck are we playing with today?
We are playing with the elements of the source.
Okay.
So, funny story. I actually I went to Meow Wolf down in
That's
New
in downtown.
Mexico,
Oh, okay. That's not the
right?
one downtown.
Yep, I've been to that one too.
Okay.
Meow Wolf is incredible. Um,
We were gonna
as I'm
go
looking around through
when we
Meow
were
Wolf,
there.
do what?
We were gonna go when we were there, but it wasn't open. The one downtown?
Boo.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to come
boo.
back. There's actually a fortune teller in Meow Wolf.
Oh,
Yes. I was fortunate enough to be able to find that fortune teller. I was kind of messing with her.
nice.
I know I'm terrible. So as I'm walking through, we go through the gift shop, we go through like so on, right? And I pick up the cards and I look at it, I'm like, is this a Meow Wolf Oracle deck? No, right? So I start like looking through the cards and I'm like, oh my God, it is. I have to have this, you know? So I grab it and take it out in New Mexico. I think I got like two oracles and one tarot deck out of New Mexico itself, you know, because I like one of my goals was to try to find a New Mexico oracle deck, which I found. And it's all Native American and it's all cool, right? But then Meow Wolf. And we come back and I'm walking through the Meow Wolf in downtown Denver because, it just opened and we got the tickets and, you know, I'm walking through it and there's this girl inside of Meow Wolf and she's got this giant stack of these cards. And I was like, why in the world does she have so many cards, right? It was probably like five of the packs of cards.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I walk up to her and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And she looks at me and she goes, what? And I pull my deck out and I fan them out. And she looks at me and she goes, oh. And I was like, what's the connection? And she goes, connection to what? I'm like, what's the connection? I'm trying to get her to like, tell me what the hell the connection to all these Meow Wolves are. And she's like, connection. And I'm like, there's a Meow Wolf here. There's a Meow Wolf in Las Vegas. There's a Meow Wolf in New Mexico. Meow Wolf in New Mexico is all about a guy that was a life coach that decided to try to find complete peace. In turn, he found the source. And she was like, there's a source? And I was like, damn it, she's not getting out of her character. Like, so
Yeah,
I was like,
we have a zero
this isn't
space.
working. Like,
So it's hard to get them to break character.
yeah,
They don't break character. It's awesome.
Disney
So
was terrible about it. Don't go to Hollywood Studios and Disney World. They are terrible about breaking character. So I'm like, can I do something? And she goes, what? And I go, can I see the cards? And she goes, sure. And she spreads the cards out, fans them out, and I take a card and I look at the card. And she goes, oh, that card. And I look at her and I go, it means this, this, and this. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm doing your job for you. Like, and so like, I'm like, let me do it back. So I fan my cards out and she takes the card and I'm like, okay, what does that card mean? Like, so, I made sure that like she still felt like she was okay. Like,
yeah,
so later on, I actually like asked her if I could do a card of the day with her. And she was like, what's a card of the day? And I was like, well, and I explained it to her. And so she fanned her cards out and I drew the card and I lifted it up and I put it like, up to my camera and I got my kid to like, zoom in on the card. And I did the card of the day with her.
that's
Later
awesome.
on, Meow Wolf, after I posted that, actually commented on it,
Oh, that's cool.
right? And I was like, and that is one of the coolest things I think has ever happened to me in Denver. So, yeah, it was funny though, like trying to get people to break character because, like, you're trying to like figure things out. Yeah, there's got to be a link. And I haven't figured out the link yet, but there's got to be a connection to all
Sure.
these things that happen to Meow Wolf because, I mean, story, right?
Yeah.
Sadly, one of the creators of Meow Wolf just died.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah. So the connection might be lost because that might have been the person that was like writing the story of all of these things.
Gotcha. So what is
And
our card of the day, Lance?
the card of the day is desire.
Ooh,
Yes.
so what does
Which is
that
really
mean
funny
for
considering
everybody
what we've been
today?
talking about all day. You desire things. You reach for those things. You grab them, you pull them to you. You can manage to get anything you want in this world, just as long as you desire to do
Nice. A nice little manifestation card for the day. I love it. I love it.
it.
All right, Lance, I am so grateful that you came on and we got to learn about Egypt and
Thank you
being
for
in a
having me.
state of calm. And I would like to thank everybody who joined us today. And join us next Sunday for next week's episode with Carrie Ann, and we're going to find out why the ocean is so peaceful. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, guys.